Yeah, man. In this video, what I hope to provide you with is essentially a technique that allows you to construct cubes and squares with literally no rulers. I think that's cool. If you think that's cool too, then grab your sketchbook and come sit down with me. We'll have a nice chat and a drawing session where I teach you this. Let's get right in. Hello, brother. I've looked at videos made by Saikra and art tuts by Alan and Drosha, and these three people they seem to be able to explain this in a very mathsy way. And the least mathsy way of the explanation was given by this guy called Art Tuts by Alan. I'll put his channel in the description and I'll put that video in the description too. Go there and check that video out, it's amazing. I've kind of used the same methods to accomplish our results here, and I'll be explaining them to you to the best of my ability. So what we're going to try to do to draw a square on the perspective grid is the following. Oh yeah. So this is how you do it in 1 point perspective. And I'm not gonna tell you how to do it like directly. You're gonna have to take the time to make the inferences. And this is how you make it in 2 point perspective, and you can replicate that all over again and again, and you'll end up with a full grid of squares. So whatever the hell are we doing? So first of all, I'm going to try to explain it to the best of my abilities, but I don't know if I can explain it fully. So this is only going to be a trial session for me. First of all, if I take a random square who's got sides like this, and I do this and that, you're not going to understand jack shit. So I'm going to take to using a different method. So here is how it goes. First of all, we have the top face, and we have the bottom face, and we have a lot of inner faces too. Like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actually. Now the top face and the bottom face, when they connect, we're gonna not see perfect squares over here in the perspective grid, right? They're totally warped. So what we're going to try to do in this method is that we want to try to perfectly warp this, which is a perfect square when we take a straight look at it, into these, which are not even close to perfect squares when we look at them straight up. So that is how this method is supposed to work in theory. Thankfully, the Monish who was recording this before, he did a really good job of explaining the theory, so I'll let him handle the rest of the video. This whole square can be scaled back to the vanishing point just like that, right? So say I didn't want to scale back the square to that vanishing point. What would I do? Well, you'd be like, just take the vanishing point and put it elsewhere. It's gonna work pretty fine. Yeah, it's gonna work pretty fine. You are right. Let's do that. And if I wanted to make this a perfect square, this is how it would look like. You're like, what the hell? You did nothing. How the hell did you get that result? Well, my boy, I'll teach you something today. How to rotate lines in 90 degrees in the perspective grid. So the first idea behind this is this. If you take a vanishing point and you put it over here, you take this line and this goes to infinity, let's say. This can be applied to 2-point perspective too, but let's take to a simpler example because we already have two vanishing points here. So if I take this and I converge it with this line's length is going to be equal to this line's length. So that is what I understand from this. And this vanishing point, my friend, is called diagonal vanishing point. And another of this vanishing point will make two diagonal vanishing points. And, well, you can draw another diagonal. That's all you can do with that. There is not much use for these two guys when we're trying to make normal things, except for scaling and all that precious stuff. And by the way, you can scale this backward too pretty easily. This square is going to be equal to this square in perspective. So that's that. Now that you've learned how to rotate dimensions in 90 degrees, I think you can start to get the bigger picture when I show you the actual workings behind that. And by the way, if you drew with me, you actually made a cube right now. So let me just put a simple box here. A box that is rotated for a bit. What we're trying to do is, we're trying to take this box and we're going to place it on the perspective grid. So we're going to do as we did earlier. We're going to find the center of its origin, and then we're going to try and find the other origin, which in our case is nil right now for some reason. No, it's not nil. So what we did earlier was we found those diagonal vanishing points by keeping the square straight over here and drawing that way, right? What we can otherwise think about this is like you draw a whole square over this square that circumscribes it, and in the ends you'll find the other two vanishing points. So this square here is that square, and by rotating this one, you can rotate the one on the inside too. So my friend, we have basically got ourselves the diagonal vanishing point 1 and diagonal vanishing point 2, and we also got ourselves a center vanishing point. This is like the origin point, remember that. So thus far we were trying to draw all of this in 1-point perspective, right? I'm still gonna make a 1-point perspective example for you so that you can understand. If you draw from one diagonal vanishing point and you draw a line that goes this way, well, you've got yourself a 1-point perspective square. So how do you take it to the next level? Well, that's easy. You use the diagonal vanishing points. It's actually very simple actually. So you draw this way and this way. This doesn't need to be 90 degrees exactly because we already found the center vanishing point. Remember that? And we're going to draw a line from the center vanishing point, and we're going to draw two other lines from the other two vanishing points, and we have a square. So what we're trying to do is, previously in the last method we tried to make the box, and these spots, these things were the diagonals, right? Now these boys here, they are edges of the square. Like these guys, they make the square, not this thing. And instead what we're going to do for the other two diagonals are, one is going to go back to the origin point of that square, and this is going to go back to somewhere else where we don't know where it's heading. So my friend, you've got yourself a square. That was ridiculously hard to explain, right? So if you really think about it, the next part of making a cube is especially easy when you use it like this. But right now I said we'll make something with this, right? And we're going to do that. What do you want to make this into? A carpet? Yeah, I'm making it a carpet. This looks more like a pillow, so I'm gonna call it a pillow. Yep. This is some place somebody can sit on, and this is a square pillow, although it looks warped. And that is mostly about it for the basics of this video. Now we're gonna able to do the Steve head that I did in the demo as well. You're like, yay, we're gonna draw Steve, right? Not exactly. I'm not gonna make you draw the face directly. We can draw crafting benches and stuff, and we can enter the face after that, I think. Because if you get 2 times the practice, you will be 2 times better, I think. First of all, to draw a cube, you need to first draw a square. I mean, you need to start somewhere. Second of all, you're gonna have to find our diagonals and the center vanishing point. Boom! We have the center vanishing point and the diagonal vanishing point 1 and dp2. I know all of this sounds confusing, but behind the scenes, they're literally the easiest stuff you can find anywhere. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to mirror this center vanishing point, which we use to construct the diagonals. And that is how we will be able to make our cube. So first, once we mirror this, we will no longer need this square. We can just draw our square anyhow now, and I think you remember how to do a 2-point perspective square as I taught you, right? So yep, we've completed one face. And by the way, I'm going to tell you one very common mistake that a lot of people do. They'll be very hasty when they draw the square, and they'll put it in really different angles. Like say this is like the square's angle. I'm not even touching the surface of this, but look at this, man. If you make this look like that, then your end picture is also going to look very warped. Just remember that. So I tried to make this as less warped as I can. We'll see how the results come. This is, well, we've mirrored this point, right? We're going to use the same thing, but I want you to change your perspective and look at it this way. Now I'm gonna freehand the third vanishing point, and all that will work out pretty well only, so I'm not gonna be very worried about that. And hence we have the square. You want to know why this is so distorted? Well, that's because I forgot to draw the cone of vision. So here's another important concept. When you're drawing the center within the center vanishing point and the diagonal vanishing points, anything you draw outside of these two is going to look, outside of this thing drawn as the radius, you're gonna get pretty weird warped results. And yep, this is our square. If you're perplexed as to how we got here, let me explain it to you. So first of all, we constructed our square here, right? So what we're trying to do is we're going to mirror the construction of this square over here by tilting it this way, and we're going to mirror the position of that origin point, and we're going to mirror a diagonal here, and by this we're going to construct our dear cube. This looks pretty warped. I told you the reason behind it, but let's continue anyway. We're gonna draw a crafting table now. I don't think I'm big enough to not need any reference, but I'm gonna try my hand at it anyway because I've had a whole childhood of playing Minecraft. And maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help. Don't pay any attention to the stuff that's happening outside the house right now. I cannot prevent that. So this is going to be somewhat of a tool wrench, and this has got to be a hammer because that's how do you craft without a hammer. And let me add in an axe because that will also be very useful in crafting. Let me also add in a tiny knife. Yep, now we're done with a basic crafting table, and the best part about it is that it's straight from Minecraft. I'm not lying, bro. It's straight from Minecraft. I mean, it doesn't look anything like it. What I'm trying to say is it's squarey and cubey in the way voxel art is. Yeah, I'm back. So I think I totally forgot about the part where I told you that we'll be drawing Steve. So I'm gonna be drawing Steve now. If you want to join along, grab your sketchbooks and let's go on this adventure. I know we've been through a lot of theory, but you need to understand the workings to actually get shit right? So I think you understand. And most notably, the Steve we're going to draw, he's going to have, you guessed it, a perfect voxel look. He's gonna have some of that perfect voxel riz, boys. Okay, let us make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think this will suffice. Now we're gonna have to find the half angle. We found that, and now we can draw our square. This is not a very warped square, but this is somewhat of a warped square. So let's kind of roll with it, you know. And hence we will find the other vanishing point. We're gonna use this origin point as I told you before in the theory part, and we're going to go down the route. And again, yet again, we've found perfect cube. This is going to look stupidly easy because it actually is. And what was all of that overcomplication back then, you ask me? Well, that was me essentially trying to teach you what was going on behind the scenes. Because if you know that, then the videos that Saikra and these people made, this is exactly that method. But I taught that to you in a different, easier, understandable way. Nothing else. So this is a Walmart version of Steve. No, this is actually coming out good. Holy shit. I thought since this was warped, I'd make fun of my own work. But you know what? This is cool. This is warped, but it's still cool. So this is where his ear goes usually. No respect for anatomy as usual in the Minecraft style. Let me make this more perfect. Yup, that is it. We're going to draw his hair, and from the sides as well, we will do the same. I've drawn his ears, and that is Steve's face and his hair separated. Now I shall draw his facial features. If you're like, whoa, you're not using the grid anymore, well, watch my previous video, man. I'll teach you how to draw like this too. Okay, now we have Steve, like a basic version of Steve. No, I messed up his eye. So that is nearly about it. We're about to finish drawing Steve. And what is Steve looking at? I don't know, I just pointed his eyes that way. For visual interest. And I quote, this is supposed to be Steve. I know, man, you expected much more, all that stuff. But, I mean, this was literally a minute long of sketch, right? So you can't be that mad on me, can you? Yup, this is a Walmart sketch of Steve. And I drew him from memory, if you're wondering. And that is about it for this part. Grab your popcorn and jump right in. Yeah, brother, mind not the noise in the background. Right now, I'm gonna give you a summary of what we have done thus far. First, we learnt about the center vanishing point, which is the origin point, and the diagonal vanishing points. Like, what are they? What do they do? We learnt all of that. And after that, we learnt how we are actually downscaling a square into the perspective grid by using the method that we did. And by that, we are achieving a perfect square. And we also learned how we can construct a cube if we just take this and put it sideways and use the origin point to our benefits. Okay, if you don't understand any of this, you can feel free to go back to that part of the video and take a look at what you did not find in the first place. Yeah, that's mostly it for this video. I have not much more to offer here. In the next video, I will be teaching you guys how you can use circles to create rotations of complex figures, and by that construct beautiful drawings. And that is mostly about it for today. If you have any artist friends who might benefit from this, send this video to them. Maybe they're trying to make some voxel art on their sketchbook. Might help them. That's it. Thank you for watching. You've had an amazing attention span today, and you've not clicked off. So this is not just your motivation. This is your discipline kicking in too. Be happy about that. Thank you for watching. Bye.